Daniel, a man shrouded in sorrow, sought refuge in the remote wilderness of northern Maine. Tragedy had struck, snatching away his family. The pain was too much to bear. He just wanted to escape. A dilapidated cabin, nestled deep within the woods, promised solace and isolation. The journey was arduous, each mile pulling him further away from civilization. Daniel relished the solitude. The silence of the woods was a balm to his wounded soul. As he arrived at the cabin, a sense of foreboding washed over him. He pushed it aside. He needed this escape. The cabin stood as a solitary sentinel, weathered by time and shrouded in an eerie silence. The air hung heavy with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. It was as if the forest itself was holding its breath. Daniel stepped inside, his footsteps echoing in the stillness. Cobwebs clung to every corner and dust lay thick upon the floorboards. The windows, grimy and opaque, allowed only slivers of light to penetrate the gloom. The silence was unsettling. It pressed in on Daniel, amplifying his loneliness. He unpacked his meager belongings, each item a painful reminder of what he had lost. Days bled into nights, each one indistinguishable from the last. Daniel existed in a haze of grief and isolation. The silence, once a comfort, now felt oppressive. It was as though the cabin itself was absorbing his sorrow, becoming a vessel for his pain. He spent his days lost in thought, replaying memories in his mind. He wandered the surrounding woods, seeking solace in nature's embrace. But the silence followed him. It whispered through the trees, rustled in the undergrowth, echoed in the emptiness of his heart. One evening, as darkness descended, Daniel heard it. A soft whisper, barely audible, seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. He paused, holding his breath, straining to hear. There it was again, a faint murmuring, like voices carried on the wind. He dismissed it as a trick of his mind, a manifestation of his solitude. But as the days turned into weeks, the whispers grew stronger, more insistent. They seemed to coil around him, taunting him with their unseen presence. Fear began to gnaw at the edges of his sanity. Section 5. Unmasking the Hidden. Driven by a mixture of curiosity and dread, Daniel began to explore the cabin. He ran his fingers along the rough-hewn logs, searching for any sign of an explanation. One day he noticed a discrepancy in the wall. A section of the paneling seemed to be slightly ajar. With trembling hands, he pried open the panel, revealing a narrow, hidden doorway. A musty odor wafted out, the scent of decay and forgotten things. Heart pounding in his chest, Daniel stepped inside. He found himself at the top of a rickety staircase, plunging down into darkness. Section 6. Secrets in the Silence. The air in the hidden room was thick with the weight of secrets. Daniel fumbled for his flashlight, the beam cutting through the gloom. Strange symbols etched into the floor and walls seemed to writhe in the flickering light. In the center of the room sat a wooden table, upon which lay a single leather-bound journal. He reached for the journal, his fingers brushing against the brittle pages. The words within were scrawled in a spidery hand, chronicling the experiences of the cabin's previous occupant. As he read, a chill ran down his spine. The writer spoke of voices, of unseen entities, of a darkness that consumed all who dared to stay within the cabin's walls. Section 7. Trapped in Terror. The whispers intensified, becoming guttural growls that seemed to shake the very foundation of the cabin. Daniel, his mind teetering on the precipice of madness, tried to rationalize what he was experiencing, but the journal's words echoed in his mind, confirming his deepest fears. He was not alone. Panic surged through him. He had to escape. He stumbled back up the stairs, but the hidden door was gone, the wall seemingly whole and undisturbed. The whispers were now screams, swirling around him, taunting him with his impending doom. He was trapped, imprisoned within the cabin's malevolent embrace. Section 8. The silence remains. Days later, the silence returned to the cabin. The oppressive quietude was more unsettling than any of the previous noises. The whispers, the growls, the screams, all had vanished, leaving behind an eerie void. The cabin stood as it always had, a solitary sentinel in the vast wilderness. But Daniel was gone. His belongings remained untouched, as if frozen in time. The only evidence of his presence was the old journal, lying open on the table in the hidden room. Its pages, filled with tales of terror and despair, seemed to pulsate with an unseen energy. The cabin had claimed another victim, adding his story to its grim legacy. Section 9. A Legacy of Fear. The locals whispered tales of the cursed cabin, a place where darkness lingered and sanity crumbled. Some dismissed it as folklore, the ramblings of superstitious minds. But there were those who knew the truth, who had seen the fear in the eyes of those who had dared to spend a night within its walls. The cabin remained, a testament to the enduring power of solitude and the insidious nature of fear. It stood as a stark reminder that some places are best left undisturbed, their secrets buried beneath layers of time and silence. Section 10. The Power of Solitude. Solitude, once a sanctuary for Daniel, had become his undoing. The cabin, a symbol of escape, had morphed into a prison of his own making. In the face of overwhelming grief and isolation, his mind had conjured horrors that transcended the realm of the rationale. The haunting silence of the wilderness had amplified his fears, whispering doubts and anxieties into his soul. The cabin, steeped in its own dark history, had provided a fertile ground for his descent into madness. And in the end, the silence remained, an eerie testament to the fragility of the human psyche when confronted with the abyss of solitude.